In the shadowy world of rock stardom, Ian Watkins rose to fame with his band, Lostprophets, captivating millions with his music. But behind the scenes, a sinister darkness lurked. As the shocking truth about his monstrous crimes came to light, the world was left horrified. Join us as we unravel the chilling descent of a rock idol into depravity, a journey into the mind of a predator that will leave you speechless.
Ian Watkins was born on July 30th, 1977, in Merthyr Tydfil, Wales, to a seemingly ordinary family. As a child, Watkins showed a keen interest in music, which quickly became his passion. He was a bright and charismatic boy, excelling academically and socially. His natural charm and talent for music led him to form a band with friends during his teenage years. This band would eventually become Lostprophets, one of the most popular rock bands in the UK in the early 2000s. Watkins' rise to fame was swift. Lostprophets released their debut album, Thefica Sound Defroze, in 2000, which quickly gained traction in the rock music scene. Their unique blend of alternative rock, post-hardcore, and pop-punk resonated with fans worldwide. By the mid-2000s, Lostprophets had achieved commercial success with hits like Last Train Home and Rooftops, and Watkins, as the frontman, became the face of the band. His charisma on stage and in interviews won over legions of fans, and he was often described as charming, intelligent, and approachable. However, beneath the surface of this successful rock star was a man with a dark and disturbing secret. As Lostprophets continued to climb the charts, Watkins' behavior behind closed doors began to take a sinister turn. Unbeknownst to his bandmates and fans, Watkins was developing a fascination with extreme and illegal sexual acts. This fascination would eventually lead him down a path of unimaginable depravity. Watkins' public persona remained intact for years, with no one suspecting the horrors that were unfolding in his private life. He continued to tour with Lostprophets, releasing more albums and maintaining a busy schedule of performances and appearances. Yet, even as his fame grew, so did his obsession with darker fantasies. By the late 2000s, Watkins had begun to exploit his status as a celebrity to gain access to vulnerable fans. Using social media, he would reach out to female fans, some of whom were mothers with young children. Watkins' interactions with these women often started innocuously enough, but they quickly escalated into demands for explicit material and participation in illegal activities. His descent into darkness was further fueled by drug use. Watkins became heavily addicted to crystal meth, which only served to amplify his already twisted desires. His drug-fueled binges led him to lose all sense of morality, and he began to act on his most depraved fantasies. Despite his increasingly erratic behavior, Watkins managed to keep his bandmates and the public in the dark about his true nature. He continued to perform and record with Lostprophets, even as his private life spiraled further out of control. But his dark secret was about to come to light in a way that would shock the world. The truth about Ian Watkins' crimes began to surface in 2012, when a concerned ex-girlfriend came forward with evidence of his illegal activities. She had discovered disturbing text messages and videos on Watkins' phone, which detailed his involvement in the sexual exploitation of children. Horrified by what she found, she immediately reported her findings to the police, setting off an investigation that would reveal the full extent of Watkins' depravity. The police quickly launched an investigation into Watkins' activities, and what they uncovered was nothing short of horrifying. Watkins had been abusing his position as a rock star to prey on vulnerable fans, some of whom were mothers with young children. He had coerced these women into allowing him to abuse their children, and he had documented these acts in videos and photographs. The investigation revealed that Watkins had been involved in these heinous acts for several years, and his crimes were more extensive than anyone could have imagined. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and in December 2012, Watkins was arrested and charged with multiple counts of child sexual abuse, including the attempted rape of a baby. The public was stunned by the news of Watkins' arrest. Fans of Lostprophets, who had once idolized the charismatic frontman, were left reeling from the revelation that their hero was a monster. The band quickly disbanded, and Watkins' former bandmates issued statements expressing their shock and disgust at his actions. As the investigation continued, more victims came forward, revealing the full extent of Watkins' manipulation and abuse. He had used his celebrity status to groom and exploit vulnerable women and children, all while maintaining the facade of a successful and beloved rock star. The sheer scale of his crimes was staggering, and it became clear that Watkins had been operating with impunity for years. The case against Watkins was further strengthened by the testimony of his co-defendants, to women who had been complicit in his crimes. These women, who were also fans of Lostprophets, had willingly participated in the abuse of their own children at Watkins' behest. Their testimony provided chilling insights into the mind of a man who had no regard for the lives he destroyed. The details of Watkins' crimes were so graphic and disturbing that they were initially withheld from the public. However, as the case progressed, the full horror of his actions became known, and the media coverage of the trial intensified. Watkins' crimes were described as some of the most depraved ever seen, and the public's outrage grew with each new revelation. Ian Watkins' trial began in November 2013, and it quickly became one of the most shocking and high-profile cases in British legal history. The evidence against him was overwhelming, with video footage, text messages, and the testimony of his co-defendants painting a damning picture of his crimes. Watkins initially pleaded not guilty, but as the trial progressed, it became clear that his defense was untenable. The court heard harrowing accounts of the abuse Watkins had inflicted on his victims, some of whom were infants. The details of his crimes were so disturbing that the judge ordered certain parts of the testimony to be heard in private to protect the victims' identities and spare the public from the graphic content. The jury was visibly shaken by the evidence presented, and the atmosphere in the courtroom was one of shock and revulsion. Watkins' defense team attempted to argue that his actions were the result of his drug addiction, and that he had not been in full control of his faculties at the time of the crimes. However, the prosecution countered that Watkins had shown a clear pattern of predatory behavior that spanned several years, and that his actions were deliberate and calculated. As the trial neared its conclusion, Watkins changed his plea to guilty, acknowledging his role in the abuse. His admission of guilt sent shockwaves through the courtroom, and the judge condemned his actions in the strongest possible terms. On December 18, 2013, Ian Watkins was sentenced to 29 years in prison, with an additional 6 years on extended license. The judge described Watkins as a dangerous and manipulative individual who posed a significant risk to the public. The conviction of Ian Watkins was met with widespread relief, but also with a profound sense of sorrow for the victims and their families. The trial had exposed the darkest aspects of human nature, and the impact of Watkins' crimes would be felt for years to come. His actions had not only destroyed the lives of his victims, but had also left an indelible stain on the music industry and the fan community that had once celebrated his success. As the horrifying details of Ian Watkins' crimes came to light, it became evident that understanding his psychological makeup was crucial to grasping how a celebrated rock star could devolve into such monstrous behavior. Ian Watkins, once the charismatic frontman of Lostprophets, displayed behaviors that shocked even the most seasoned psychologists and criminologists. Watkins' public persona was that of a successful and charming musician, adored by fans around the world. However, behind closed doors, he exhibited traits commonly associated with severe personality disorders, including narcissism and psychopathy. His need for control and power, often manifesting in the manipulation of others, was a key characteristic that underscored his actions. Psychologists who examined Watkins noted his complete lack of empathy, a hallmark of psychopathy. He was able to dissociate from the pain and suffering he inflicted, viewing his victims not as human beings, but as objects for his gratification. This detachment from reality allowed him to commit unspeakable acts without any visible signs of remorse or guilt. One of the most chilling aspects of Watkins' psychological profile was his ability to lead a double life. To the public, he was a successful artist, but in private, he indulged in the darkest of fantasies. This duality is often seen in individuals with antisocial personality disorder, where the person can present as normal or even charming in public, while harboring a completely different persona in private. Watkins' manipulation extended to his closest circle. He used his fame and influence to control and coerce those around him, exploiting the trust and admiration of his fans to satisfy his depraved desires. This manipulation is another trait often associated with psychopathy, where the individual seeks to dominate and control others without any regard for their well-being. The investigation into Watkins' behavior revealed a pattern of escalating depravity. Initially, he might have sought to test boundaries, engaging in smaller acts of cruelty and seeing how far he could push them. Over time, as he faced little to no consequences, these acts grew bolder and more grotesque, culminating in the heinous crimes that ultimately led to his downfall. Criminologists who studied Watkins' case also pointed to his profound sense of entitlement. He believed that his status as a celebrity placed him above the law, a belief that was only reinforced by the adoration he received from fans and the protection that fame often affords public figures. This sense of invulnerability only contributed to his increasingly reckless behavior. Watkins' case also highlights the dangers of celebrity culture, where adoration can mask deeper, more troubling issues. His ability to hide his crimes for so long suggests a failure in the systems meant to protect the vulnerable. It also raises questions about how society elevates individuals to such a level that their transgressions are ignored or overlooked until it's too late. The psychological analysis of Ian Watkins underscores the complex interplay of personality disorders, celebrity influence, and a deep-seated need for control that led him down a path of unimaginable horror. Understanding these factors provides crucial insights into the mind of a predator, reminding us of the potential darkness that can lurk behind even the most seemingly successful facades. In the end, the Ian Watkins case is a stark reminder of how far one can fall when power, control, and a complete lack of empathy intersect in the most devastating way. The legacy of his crimes continues to haunt those who were affected, and his name remains a dark stain on the history of modern music.